going to start our venue now, and first of all, I want to welcome all of you joining us today for the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce Business and Achievement Awards Luncheon. Thank you very much for coming. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you. Okay. We're excited and privileged to have former Governor Tim Pawlenty join us as our guest of honor today. Mr. Pawlenty will speak, and after we have the presentation of our awards. I want to take a minute here just to thank our sponsors for this event today. Grand Casino, Mille Lacs, and Hinckley, thank you for being a sponsor, generous sponsor. I see we have Grandma's Bakery. They're another one of our sponsors. Thank you so much. And Biz Recycling, Ramsey and Washington counties, they're our sponsor also. Thank you. Thank you. And our special guests, obviously, here at Keller Golf Course. They always do such an absolutely great job for us. They're an awesome place to have a meeting. So please come here if you're looking to have a great business meeting, along with the other great places that the White Bear area has to offer. So thank you. Also wanted to take a minute here to recognize some of the public officials that are in the room. Mary Lee Abrams, the Maplewood City Council member, is here today. I see Senator Roger Chamberlain is here. Thank you for coming. Bob Kermes, White Bear Township, is here from their council. And I see Bill Walsh, White Bear Lake City Council member, is here with us today. And Victoria Reinhardt, the Ramsey County Board Commissioner, has also joined us for lunch. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn the program over to Barb Sheldon, our current chairperson of the board. Barb, thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Again, thank you so much for joining us today for the annual Business and Achievement Awards. It is truly such a special event to be able to honor all of our businesses in our membership, but then to be able to honor these winners today. So we're going to get started right away. Please keep enjoying your lunch because we have a full program today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Business and Achievement Awards Committee, Randy Fulton, Jerry Kowapik, Tiffany Schmidt, and Eric Rickman. Thank you for all your hard work in putting this event together. We received dozens of nominations this year, so thank you all for nominating and sending in those well-deserved nominations. We, as a committee, look at them and have a good time working together on picking the winners. I also want to give a huge thanks to Brian Henshin. Is Brian here? There he is. Brian is a videographer who put the upcoming videos together for us today. With that, let's get the awards started. We'll start with the Emerging Business Award. The Emerging Business Award goes to a local company that has been in business for less than 3 years. And they have demonstrated one or more of the following: exceptional performance and growth, outstanding employment practices, innovative products and services, exemplary customer service, response to adversity, and community involvement.
A lot of our challenge is just getting our name out there, letting everybody know that we're here and what we do, and developing the relationships with our customers. So, you know, as a first-time customer, everything we do is built around trust. And so when you meet somebody the first time, we work really hard to try to build that trusting relationship. I think one of the things that separates us is the passion that we have to get to know our customers. People aren't just a name and a number here. We know who they are. We get to know them. We get to know their families. We try to get to know them personally, and a lot of them have become personal friends.
David and Jessica have been in business for 3 years. They started in their own driveway and moved to a building in Whitebear Township, and now are in the process of expanding again. David began his career at the age of 15 when he rebuilt his first engine. He is also a veteran and has served 5 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. Trinity Automotive believes in faith, family, and doing what is right in every situation, giving back to their community as well as serving neighbors and friends with honesty, accuracy, and integrity. It is my privilege to present the 2017 Emerging Business of the Year Award to Trinity Automotive.
The Workplace Waste Reduction and Recycling Award. But I do have to say, before I do that, I was telling Taylor, as we were talking before this, how much fun it is to go to the ribbon cuttings for different businesses. And I was there for the ribbon cutting for Trinity Automotive, and it's so great to see that you won, so congratulations again. The Workplace Waste Reduction and Recycling Award. This award honors a business that has successfully implemented waste management programs by incorporating reduction, reuse, recycling, and buying recycled materials, executing an integrated waste management program, and ongoing employee education program for waste reduction efforts through Biz Recycling, which is part of the Recycling and Energy Board of Ramsey and Washington counties. I think that Maureen chose me to present this award because many of you know that my background is in garbage. And so, from an environmental perspective. And so the reduce, reuse, recycle is something that we really care a lot about. It's about the environment, it's about public safety, and it's about what each one of us can do to care for our earth. So first we will have the video with Joel Anderson from Biz Recycling.
Biz Recycling is a program through the Ramsey and Washington Counties Recycling and Energy Board, and it is a grant program that helps businesses start or enhance a recycling program, and it can be money for recycling items such as recycling bins. We'll pay for staff training and minor facility upgrades. There's a 70% tax in Ramsey County for commercial waste. Everything that's being placed in a trash dumpster is charged a 70% tax. Everything that is diverted from a trash dumpster into a recycling program, there is no tax. So it's volume based, and that's where the cost savings. The Biz Recycling grant will definitely help businesses out. We also work through an independent business consultant, so a trash expert will come out to the business site, learn their waste stream, and make recommendations and actually fill out the Biz Recycling grant application for the business. So the business doesn't have to know anything about trash. We realize that businesses have a lot going on, so we really tried to cater this program to make it as easy for a business to go through the program as possible.
And the winner of this award is John Lupo and Grandma's Bakery, and we will present that video at this point.
I got involved with the Ramsey Washington County Recycle Project. I was skeptical at first because I didn't understand what it was about and what the motivation was here and what kind of a group it was. But when I found out more about it, it is sponsored by the Chambers of Commerce, and this money is granted to them, and they use this money to help educate us business people on all things recycling. And it's really a very good thing for businesses. It's a way to reduce waste for the counties, which they need to do, and it's a way for us to reduce costs because we don't have to pay taxes on things that we recycle. We do have to pay, I believe it's, is it 62 or 72% tax on anything that we put into the landfills. So it's definitely in our best interest to reduce what we put into the landfills, and these people can help. For me, the project involved education. I needed to be educated, and our staff needed to be educated, and we needed to be equipped to do recycling on a large scale. So we had to identify what our sources of waste were, what our streams were, and then separate those, and then educate our employees to put the proper article into the proper stream to reduce our total waste. They were there pretty much every step of the way. They had the education up front, and then once they went through things with us, then they recommended some monies that could be used from a grant to help us achieve what we were trying to do. And then the follow-up afterwards too, when there's a lot of questions that arise through the whole process, and they were there for every step to answer the questions. They were fabulous. We've seen our trash bill reduced. We've seen our recycling bill stay the same or slightly decrease because of the volume that we are recycling, the organics and things like that. It's been a great project for our employees. They have really gotten into it, and our customers have gotten into it too. They see this as a very socially responsible thing to do, and that's been a real plus for us. Overall, our business has increased, but our trash and recycling, all these costs together have decreased. We think that's a big deal to be able to do that. Oh, get involved. First of all, you're going to save money. That's the number one thing. You're going to save waste. You're going to put less into the landfills. That's a good socially responsible thing to do. Your employees will respect you more for it, as will your customers. It's just win-win-win for everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so pleased.
Appreciate it.
I think they want us over here. I will give you this.
I got involved with Mueller Memorial because my family owns it. It's the business that was started by my stepdad, Scott, his dad and mom. So when I was transitioning from careers, I was a dental hygienist, and I still am registered, but I finished my bachelor's degree and wanted to get into marketing and copywriting, and an opportunity came up at Scott's business that was already actively searching for somebody to fill that role, and I said, hey, I can do this. And so he hired me, and that was 6 years ago. One of my proudest moments with Mueller Memorial isn't necessarily a moment per se, it's kind of a combination of things. When I was redoing our website, I was in charge of putting together the testimonials page, and it was really a great source of pride for me looking at what other people had to say and how we affected their lives in a really difficult time. And to hear in their own words them say, thank you, you made this really difficult time just a little bit easier. And I see that our staff does that every single day, and it makes my job easier because I really trust and believe in what they do and the service they provide. One of my biggest moments of pride of being a chamber member came this year, which was when we got the funding for the short rail line, because it was being a part of something that actively affected the lives of business people and just people in general in our community. Those were hundreds of real jobs that the chamber was able to advocate for. I mean, a lot of chambers or organizations give lip service to advocacy, but the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce walks the walk, talks the talk, does what needs to get done to literally advocate and save jobs. And that was a really, really impressive thing that I was proud to be a part of this year.
The White Bear Area Chamber Volunteer of the Year. It's a person who showed an outstanding commitment to this chamber's mission and growth with involvement in various committees, events, and activities with the chamber. This individual maintains the true integrity of the chamber by sharing their chamber experience and encouraging others to get involved. A lot of the things Taylor does seems to get done by magic. She is such an active member. If you have been on any committees with Taylor, you know what I mean. Just ask the people on the Ambassadors Committee, the Gala, and the Government Affairs Committees. Taylor serves as a chamber board director and a co-chair of the Ambassadors. Taylor is a get-it-done person who takes every task given to its full extent. She doesn't do anything halfway and gives it her all. She has been a wonderful, knowledgeable, and hard-working friend to the chamber. If Taylor says she will do something, you never have to worry about whether or not it's going to get done. Taylor has a vibrant, contagious energy and is a pure delight to be around. Thank you, Taylor, for your dedication and commitment. We are all truly grateful.
We're a switching and terminal carrier. We serve about 100 and some industries in the greater metro area, all the way to New Brighton, to Fridley, to White Bear Lake, Hugo. We basically picked up the scrubs of things other big railroads didn't want to operate anymore because they were losing money.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of challenges, especially the short line industry.
Yeah.
That doesn't make a lot of money because we're spin-offs of the big railroads, and our revenues have to be controlled. We can't just charge whatever we want because we make the customers non-competitive.
Yeah.
So we have to price them to keep our customers competitive, and we also have to give them good service. Some of them, need a switch a couple times a day on our railroad. We do that in like Roseville, Minnesota. We serve a couple industrial parks in Roseville. We do what we have to do to serve them and give them good service. When I took this over, it was an old company called the Minnesota Transfer. It was 30 years ago, February 1st. Minnesota Transfer had 24 employees left, and that was it. And the whole yard down here, which you may have seen, is in disrepair. We put $30 million in the yard, and we've now got 120 employees. That's just ours, but we had very few. The Roseville, the industrial park, that one, for example, didn't exist. We helped develop a bunch of industrial parks. Same in Fridley. We helped develop that. But I loved trains since I was a kid. And I worked my way through college in Iowa on passenger and freight trains from Chicago to Omaha. And I've been railroading ever since.
Minnesota Commercial Railway is the link that keeps several of our local businesses in business. If they didn't have the rail, they'd have to close down, putting over 500 employees, people from our communities, out of work. With the help from local legislators, Minnesota Commercial Railway will continue their service and be able to update the rail, keeping it safe and ready for use for years to come. I have the great honor of presenting Minnesota Commercial Railway with the 2017 Business of the Year Award.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. I just have one little thing. We could say a lot. I just want to say this would not have happened without the White Bear Chamber. People coming out of the woodwork, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, legislatures in special session. You're in the hands of the Philistines. Even Roger Chamberlain admits he doesn't know what's going to happen. Roger was there. Senator Chuck Uyghur was there. But most importantly, you guys were there all the way through. 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday special session is when this grant bill passed. What I have for you guys is just a little memorial to the White Bear Chamber of the project. This is a hand drawing of the Hugo station. done about 40 years ago. And this is Tom's office, now at the White Bear Depot. And that's for you guys. Thank you all very much.
And this is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Business of the year.
All right, thank you, John. God bless you all. Thank you.
All right, so our next award is called the Company of Excellence. It's a local company or organization that's demonstrated an amazing commitment to our communities through philanthropy, serving others, and giving back. A business that has proven they are indeed a wonderful corporate citizen.
Kowalski's Market. Started in 1983 on Grand Avenue with my parents, Jim and Mary Ann Kowalski, bought a Red Owl franchise store. He was in the grocery business prior to, she was in the counseling industry, and then they merged together, and together they said this is going to be our new venture. And so they started with the Grand Avenue store, and the rest is history. And then we've added stores. We have 11 Kowalski stores. I think what makes us feel special is just where we came from, and the fact that we are a very localized, small family owned, which doesn't, I mean, literally small family. This was my mom and dad, really, and then myself, and so that our immediate family is very small. But then we have a lot of extended family members who are part of our business. With my cousin Mike Ois, he's our chief operating officer now, and then I have my other cousin Boyd, and so this is my mom's side of the family. So we have a lot of family members, and then we have people who aren't necessarily related, but people that have grown up in the business who now have their kids working in the business, but they have wives and husbands, and we're really just a local family-owned company, and born and raised here. Most of our employees are born and raised here, and so everybody knows and loves this market and this area. So we're just a niche neighborhood market, and that's how we see ourselves, and we've never deviated from that. We love White Bear Lake. Yes, we do. We've actually, my mom and I live close to each other, and my mom and dad moved to the White Bear Lake area probably about 18 years ago, so they've lived around this area for a long time. And then my husband and I, with our small children, when they were just born, moved up here too. So we have an affinity for the White Bear Lake area.
Kowalski's Market has been in White Bear Lake since 1986 when they purchased the Red Owl and converted it into a Kowalski's. The minute you walk into Kowalski's and see the beautiful seasonal gifts, cards, flowers, and the wonderfully locally owned and sourced goods throughout, you know this is no ordinary grocery store. As a local family-owned business, Kowalski Market has been active in our area and has always been a great community partner. Over 20 years, they have developed the Kowalski's For Kids Foundation, a program that helps children by supporting program funding, educational opportunities, and family support. They have donated $1.5 million to local charities through the Groceries for Good Causes program, helping the community directly surrounding each of their stores. Kowalski's day-old product ends up in the hands of those in need. They were the first grocery retailer to partner with the Second Harvest Foundation and have donated over 1 million meals. Whenever possible, Kowalski uses the best local growers to ensure fruits and vegetables are superior in quality and always at the peak of their freshness. Over the years, they have helped launch and foster many area businesses, which have led to a growing number of lifelong relationships. I could go on and on about what Kowalski's means to our community, but time won't allow it. So I will conclude by saying it is my pleasure to present the Company of Excellence Award to Kowalski's Markets.
The legacy of excellence is an individual who has a history of demonstrating amazing commitment to our communities through serving others and giving of themselves, contributing to community-oriented projects and enhancements with service to boards, charities, mentoring, scholarships, and more.
I think in 2008, a couple of things were going on. The nation was going into a recession, the first signs of recession. So it was not an ideal time to come into a job. The other factor that I was very aware of from the history of White Bear Lake was that they had struggled over the previous 15 years with referendums. There had been 5 referendums that had passed, but 5 that had failed. So when I came in 2008, I knew there was some anxiety and some concern about the 2011 renewal levy. I think what sticks with me from my experience as superintendent was how much the whole community supports every family and every student. There's a remarkable level of support from our service clubs, from our business community, from our communities of faith, from our churches. That's really quite remarkable. The second factor is the strong staff. The level of commitment of our teaching, administrative, and support staff is really quite remarkable. They know the importance of the work that they're doing. They're committed. They make personal sacrifices. They're very proud of the work that the students do. So it's a school district that really works together to put the students in the spotlight. Well, my commitment to my family was that following retirement, I'd take a break and not add a lot, at least for a while. So it's given us some flexibility to spend time with our family. We have 4 children who live around the country. They're enjoying our flexibility. I am continuing to teach at the University of Minnesota. I contribute regularly to some educational publications. I write monthly. I'm on some major boards, including the General Board of the Twin City YMCA and the Minnesota Private College Council. And I have some other nonprofit work that I've been doing. The Rotary Connection is a weekly connection. I've been able to do a little bit more in the international committee. So I'm hoping, at least in the short run, to be able to do deeper work on some of the things that I had interests in while I was school superintendent, but not enough time. I think the Chamber has been a remarkable source of support. A couple of examples. The Chamber in 2011 was the first entity to come and support, to endorse our levy, and that when the business community is behind the school district's efforts to raise or continue at the same level of taxes, that's a really strong message to the community. A second major contribution of the Chamber has been the degree to which the Chamber has been involved in involving students in opportunities. For example, the Chamber regularly gives us an opportunity for high school students to attend meetings, especially with big name or famous people are coming to town. That is extremely positive for our students. Secondly, the Chamber has had an active role in business education. We've had a significant opportunity to work with our state legislators and our national representatives and senators on workforce development. And some of the initiatives that have come about as a result of the Chamber's work, including our career pathways, really is creating opportunities for students that are almost unique to White Bear Lake.
For those of you that may not know, Dr. Levitt just recently retired as the White Bear Lake Area School Superintendent. As you can see from the video, Dr. Levitt is an inspiration of commitment. He's known as the superintendent who joined the kids swinging on swings, played with them in the band, and read storybooks to hundreds of classes, especially in February during the I Love to Read month. Dr. Levitt's willingness to engage the schools with community partnerships created great experiences for students. He worked hard to build and keep relationships with students, families, staff, and community members. There are very few events that Dr. Levitt missed. He always did his best to show his support for all school activities and more. Dr. Levitt was a wonderful addition to our school district and continues to be a genuine, humble, kind-hearted neighbor. He truly cares about our students and our community. I hear one student used to call him Love Doctor. I think that's just about right. So it is my complete pleasure to present Dr. Michael Levitt with the Legacy of Excellence Award.
Here we
do we turn around and smile? I think we do. Okay.
You can go there first. Okay, so we have one final award to give. It's the Chair Award, and although this isn't in a formal category, the recipient is someone that I really feel deserves recognition.
I am the plant manager at Saputo Dairy Foods in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. We are a dairy manufacturing facility that's been in the area since the early 1920s. Saputo pasteurizes dairy products, and we have to heat them up, so we have to cool them back down. Traditionally, we have used groundwater or well water as a cooling medium for cooling the products back down. And then it's a single pass. It basically just cools the product, and we discharge it out to the lake. Basically, it's no cost to the company, just a little bit of electricity. However, it does draw a significant amount of water out of the aquifer. So the idea behind the thought process that we had was, how can we reduce reduce the pull from the aquifer? So what we're doing is we have a project currently we're finishing right now that's actually going to recycle the water. We're going to fill a system, close the loop, and then it'll recycle itself back and forth. We'll heat it up and cool it down. That way we'll only have to augment whatever evaporation happens, but we'll reduce our draw from the aquifer by well over 50%.
This year I want to present the Saputo Dairy Foods for going above and beyond in their effort to reduce water usage from the aquifer, thus helping increase the level of White Bear Lake. This is a costly endeavor that Saputo took on themselves, proving that they are a big business with a great community conscience and truly care about their impact on the environment. It is with great pleasure that I present this Chair's Award to Saputo Dairy Foods. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of our award winners. Let's have another round of applause. Now let's get on to our guest speaker, the Honorable Tim Pawlenty. Tim Pawlenty serves as the CEO of Financial Services Roundtable. Governor Pawlenty brings dynamic leadership and vision to an organization that represents the nation's leading financial services companies in their efforts to protect the security, integrity, and success of our nation's financial system. Those efforts include initiatives to improve the nation's security while further advancing the responsibility and the application of technology to financial services. As a former two-term governor of Minnesota, he is a leader with significant executive experience, having overseen a $50 billion biennial budget, 30,000 state employees, and 20 agencies. His education, healthcare, and energy initiatives were widely viewed as among the most innovative in the nation. Governor Pawlenty is a nationally respected policymaker who combines his depth of knowledge with a unique ability to communicate on complex issues. More recently, he has been raising awareness about the future of work and policy changes that will be needed in the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution while it's unfolding in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Tim Pawlenty.
Well, good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here, although I almost didn't make it. I spoke this morning in Chicago and left a hotel in downtown Chicago at 9:10. And so I got here, thankfully the plane was a little delayed. That helped a little, but it caused a little stress. I am really delighted to be here, but I'm particularly delighted to be here on Business Appreciation Day. And when you have a Chamber of Commerce, one of the main purposes of this group is to not only come together for networking and get to know each other, but it's to step back and support policies that support businesses. And that is so important to Minnesota's quality of life. If you ask Minnesotans what do they like about Minnesota, they'll say, I love the outdoors, I love the schools, I love the fact that we've got the Minnesota Vikings some weeks, and on down the list. But for sure, their quality of life depends on their access to have a good paying job. And you can't have good paying jobs unless you have businesses starting and growing and prospering in our wonderful state. And I want to say thank you to the business leaders, the award winners for sure, but all the other business leaders in this room who have tried to get capital together, take a risk, had a vision, had an idea, build buildings, bought capital equipment, employed people, and that comes with a lot of stress and a lot of headaches, but it comes with a lot of good. And that is opening up opportunity for jobs, good paying jobs in our state. So one more round of applause for those business leaders. I want to talk to you today about workforce issues in particular, but before I move on to that, I also want to thank the other leaders in the room. There's current and former public servants in the room, like Carol McFarland. I think Senator Chamberlain and perhaps others are here as well. And we need good people, regardless of whether you're an R or a D or something else or neither, to come forward and offer themselves in public service. And when they do, it's incumbent upon the rest of us to say thank you. We appreciate that, and we'll give you our mind share as well. And there's lots of others in the room that make this state work so well. We've got nonprofit partners, we have educators and people who prepare the workforce, which is the topic of the day, who are coaches and mentors and advocates for a better state. So thank you for all of that. Now, on to the topic of today. Imagine, if you would, we have this healthcare debate in the country that has been unfolding for years. And of course, it has lots of sights and sounds, but if you kind of break it down, people want to measure whether our healthcare delivery system has good access. In other words, everybody has access to it. They want to make sure the cost is reasonable and fair. And we also want to make sure that the quality of the healthcare services are high and good and improving. So you all know what the challenges are in the current framework around healthcare delivery. And you see that in the public policy debate. You probably see that in your everyday life and in your family and business as well. But let's talk about what technology might do for healthcare in the future, just as one example of my topic for today. So access. Does everybody in this room have a phone, right? Everybody does. And in fact, almost everybody in the country has a phone, a smartphone. Almost everybody across the world has a smartphone. So if I said to you, in the future, your phone's going to be able to take your pulse, you'd say, that's mildly interesting. And then if I said, well, what if it could also take your blood pressure? That you'd have a thing you just plug into your phone and a collar like you have at the drugstore, at the doctor's office, and it would take your blood pressure. And you say, that's a little more interesting. What if you were able to, as you already can, buy a thing that plugs into your phone, and you put your fingers on that little platform, and it took an EKG of your heart? What if you could spit on your phone, or put a drop of blood on your phone, and it could run health tests based on your saliva and or your blood? What if your phone and your bed communicated with each other, so your bed could tell you whether you slept well, had stress, were perspiring during the night, or other indicators? This list goes on and on. What if your phone, by the way, I don't have it handy, what if I could hold up my phone, and this phone also took ultrasound or MRI pictures? What if I had an abdominal pain on my lower right abdominal? And instead of getting in the car and making an appointment and a month or two from now showing up at the doctor, he or she then sends me for tests, I can have all the tests done on my phone, or many of them. And in fact, by holding my phone to my stomach, I could take an ultrasound or an MRI image of my own kidneys, of my own pancreas, of my own liver. Some nights, when I'm drinking a little red wine, I probably should do that. Or my favorite, of course, is Miller High Life. But all of that and more is coming. But here's another interesting part of this. It's not just that. When you have artificial intelligence, you're going to have, as you already do, machines like Watson, IBM's supercomputer, or Babylon, another company based out of the UK, that is building massive predictive analytics around, if you feed it these measures of your health, it will tell you instantly what's wrong with you. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters for a number of reasons. First of all, there's about 10,000 medical conditions known to man and woman. known to humankind. 10,000. And no matter how good of a medical school student you are, there is no way you can understand, follow, and comprehend more than probably a couple hundred, maybe, of those 10,000 conditions. There are 40,000 people who die in our country per year just on misdiagnoses, and that's when you're in the intensive care unit. Not to mention all the misdiagnosis that happens, through the system overall. And so a really good doctor today can probably accurately diagnose your conditions when they get those inputs, initially maybe 60 or 70% of the time. For Watson, who's doing this for oncology and soon for lots of other medical practices, they are at the cusp of matching and soon far exceeding the accuracy of human diagnosis in medical conditions. Now, this is a long way of telling you this. If you do these things, when you go to a doctor, the first visit or second visit, third visit, mostly they're just collecting data. And by the way, they can look at you, right? They can look at your skin, look at your complexion, look at your eyeballs, look at the iris. Your phone can do all of that too, or soon will. In fact, when I went to the airport, I had clear. I just put my eyeballs on the machine and they pushed me through without having to go through security. So this interaction between you and your doctor, now 60 to 70% accurate, and is going to be absorbed by Babylon, Watson, or their competitors in the future. They can immediately diagnose you more accurately than humans. And most of what doctors do, including lots of other things, but one of the key things they do is issue prescriptions. And what if you could take those tests at home, no appointment necessary, 100% access because everybody has a phone. You could upload that information to Watson or Babylon or something like it. The computer would diagnose you and a drone would drop your prescription on your front steps in 15 minutes. Do you think that changes the healthcare delivery system? Do you think that, think of what we do now. We used to chop down trees, pulverize it into a pulpy material, run it through, big, massive factories and print stuff on paper. Look what we do now with documents. Mostly, there's still paper around. That kind of transformational change, that kind of quantum change is coming not just to healthcare, but to everything. And it has massive implications, plus positive and minuses as well. So there will still be doctors for lots of important reasons. But when you talk about access, everybody will have access. When you talk about cost, when you bring these things to this kind of massive scale, the costs will drop precipitously. And with artificial intelligence and machine learning, accuracy, particularly diagnostic accuracy, will go dramatically up. So I share that with you just as one example of dozens that are coming not 100 years from now, not 50 years from now, not 20 years from now, but in 10 years or less. It's going to change everything. So this is called the fourth industrial revolution. Those of you who are students of history know the first industrial revolution is generally connected to the advent of steam power. The second industrial revolution is generally connected to the advent of the simultaneous advent of the internal combustion engine and electricity. The third industrial revolution is widely viewed as the boom of the internet in the 1990s and beyond. And the fourth industrial revolution is going to be what's coming next in nanotechnology, bigger data, the blending of biomedicine with natural medicine, and perhaps most importantly, widespread, ubiquitous use of artificial intelligence, or AI. By the way, I said this to somebody in a rural area the other day, and they said, why do you want to talk about AI? Artificial insemination. I'm like, no, it's artificial intelligence. And machine learning, those two things go together. So Watson and Babylon, jumping back to this healthcare example, people say, well, what is artificial intelligence? In short, it's the ability for a massive computer or linked computers to see pattern recognition. They feed it all kinds of data. They can then learn pattern recognition, and then they begin to learn the pattern recognition itself as new data comes into the pattern. And it begins to evolve on its own, which is scary, but that's what happens. And so you think about being a doctor, how busy you are, seeing patients all day, and then you try to absorb thousands of medical journals that come out, every year. You're trying to keep up with the latest scientific developments from not just your region, but your country and your world. You're trying to make sure that your knowledge is up to speed, and you can't digest all of that. Watson, in oncology, is absorbing all of that the second it comes out. All the journals, all the developments, all the new information. And so you could take everything the Mayo Clinic knows, all of it, and put it into Watson and distribute that worldwide to scale. So what else does this mean, and where does this all head? So China just announced a few weeks ago that they have this shortage in rural China of dentists. And so they're having a hard time training and deploying dentists across all of China. They just had their first dental implant surgery where a woman's teeth were totally removed from her mouth, new implants were put in, and there wasn't a human involved in the procedure. And the quality rating and the accuracy rating was higher, significantly higher, than their human counterpart practitioners. Now, think about that. And you think, wow, this is Star Trek, it's science fiction, it's coming shortly, and I want to talk to you about how we get prepared to it. But this isn't limited to healthcare. It's going to affect every sector. A few more quick examples. First of all, financial services, the industry I work on, is going to be totally disrupted. I mean, think about bank tellers. Sorry if there are bank tellers in here. First it was the ATM, now it's the phone. I met this guy in Atlanta a week or two ago. He's the founder of something called Green Sky. They do loans, consumer lending for people who are trying to do home remodeling. They have a partnership with Home Depot and the like. It's a $4 billion company, started from zero just a few years ago. His business proposition is with a phone from a contractor, take a picture of your driver's license. They can then tell you whether you qualify for a loan in 1 second. In 1 second. So, do you think you're going to spend, 3 hours trucking over to the bank, sorry bankers, sitting there and filling out forms and being embarrassed by all the questions they ask you? You think you're going to spend 3 months trying to drag around looking for a mortgage, or you got Rocket Mortgage already? Total disruptions coming in financial services. This is the new bank. This is the new brokerage house. This is the new, financial advisor. Doesn't mean humans aren't going to be involved, but this is going to be a key platform. Attorneys. I'm a former attorney. They're going to be totally disrupted, as our accountants. But there's a new company I'll call, quote, Do Not Pay. Do not pay. It's a robot lawyer. And by the way, did you have Sophia here today?
No, she's coming.
Oh, she's coming. Okay. It's a robot lawyer that you can sue Equifax today by, putting some information into Do Not Pay's platform, and it robotically sues Equifax for you for free. And this kid started this company because he was ticked off about parking tickets, and he got all this artificial intelligence about sign maintenance in cities, signs being out of place, signs being outdated, the paint chipping off. And he picked up all this virtual, visual data, camera data, and he started having this platform for fighting parking tickets for free. He's now going to move it to divorce proceedings. You can have a robot process your divorce if it's reasonably standard, and more. Do Not Pay is an example of that. Now you think, well, what construction? How about home building? We had a big challenge in this country regarding affordable housing. How much does it cost to get people who can't afford a house into a house? Or perhaps beyond just the entry-level house one. I'm going to play you a video now where 3D printing, don't play it yet to my helper. Where's my video helper here?
I'm right here.
Don't play it just
Sorry,
yet.
there's no video.
Yeah, just play it. But this 3D printing, you've heard of it, right? Okay, 3D printing, think, well, we're going to print little widgets of plastic and it's going to replace some manufacturing. It's going to replace a lot of stuff. And 3D printing doesn't mean printing. They can build almost anything. I'm going to show you this video where they build an entire house in less than 24 hours for less than $10,000. already happening in Russia. China just built a commercial skyscraper or mid-sized skyscraper using 3D printing as an experiment, as a beta test, and it goes on and on. So on the positive side, again, I could just pick your sector and we could go through these examples. It's just amazing, and the flying car and the 3D house are really interesting. Pick your sector, we can go through the same thing. Positives, efficiency is going to increase. Precision is going to increase. Cost is going to decrease. Leisure time is going to increase. And it's going to be a lot more fun, by the way. If you haven't put on these virtual reality goggles, even in their primitive form, it is a wow moment. And pretty soon you're not going to be able to just watch the Vikings from the vantage point of a camera at a 45-degree angle as if you were sitting on the 45-yard line, 50-yard line. You're going to be able to watch the game as with little pop-up cameras as if you were sitting in the huddle or on the field with the players running right by you as you wear these 3D goggles in real time. So that's all to the positive. The negatives are massive, massive disruption. And the disruption can be measured this way. Forrester said that 6% of all jobs in the US by 2021 are going to be eliminated because of this automation, because of this technology. Ball State University said that 88% of manufacturing jobs lost in recent years weren't lost to trade, they were lost to automation in terms of the positions. The World Economic Forum, get this, is 65% of the jobs, of the kids entering primary school today will be working in jobs when they exit school that don't yet exist. 65%. I mean, think about that. And then this one's really concerning. Oxford University just came out with a study that said 47% of all the current jobs will be eliminated by this kind of technology within 20 years. Now that's really dramatic. I don't know if that's going to be accurate. So here's the net argument. Jobs will be lost, but new jobs will be created. And the question is going to be, what's the net effect of all of that? And the places that are prepared for this, who are able to invent it, who are able to build it, who are able to install it, who are able to maintain it, who are able to innovate to the next generation of it, who are able to be first to market with it, and the like, are going to prosper enormously. And I want Minnesota, and our country, to be one of those places. And certainly Silicon Valley will be, because it's Silicon Valley, but the rest of the country needs to also be prepared for this, and it's going to come fast and it's going to come fierce. Think about how fast this stuff happens. 10 years ago, Facebook either didn't exist or was in its nascent stage. Smartphones, you didn't have them or they were just in their nascent stage. Twitter didn't exist, Wikipedia didn't exist, Snapchat didn't exist. And the list goes on. I mean, the things that didn't happen even 10 years ago, we've already forgotten how rapidly it's taking place. So what do we do about this from a workforce standpoint? Number one, and this is why I'm spending a lot of time this fall and hopefully beyond, going around the state educating or at least sharing perspective about this. That's number one. Number two, we need to make sure that we do an inventory, a precise inventory of the skills and knowledge base, and not just higher education, vocational education, importantly, a key part of this, that are going to be required to invent, maintain, install, and advance these technologies. Then do that inventory, do a comparison to what that looks like compared to our current curriculum in the K-12 system, our current curriculum in the post-secondary education and vocational systems, and then do a gap analysis around what is the gap. And then we need to make sure that we transform our systems and reform our systems to be better aligned with the technologies and skills that are going to be needed in this future. And I would put a particular emphasis on we have to do this more quickly than these systems are normally used to changing. We're going to have to reinvent vocational training and retraining programs to be more agile and more nimble. People are going to have to go through probably even more quickly careers and focus areas than they do now. And then that's going to also involve more money coming from a Republican. I'll just tell you, we're going to have to invest in this to make that work and to improve it and make the transition and build these new capabilities. And then we also all have to make sure that we emphasize vocational training. There's a bunch of stuff that can't be automated or be much more difficult to automate. So think about plumbing, think about electricians, think about The hospitality industry. Think about the social sciences around emotional connections with people, whether you're a counselor, a doctor, a psychologist, and the like, and the list goes on. But we need to make sure we have a clear inventory of all of that, and then start demanding, or at least nudging, or partnering with our systems to get better aligned with this future and better prepared for it. Tom's going to get mad if I go on too much longer, but I want to show you one more video. Hopefully, this is the one with the two guys in the chair, not this one, not that one. By the way, I want to show you that one in the interest of time, but before we play this next one, that thing, that robot that you saw, is a robot conductor of a symphony. In Europe, they taught this robot essentially every symphony, or known to man, put a wand in its hand, and it conducted exquisitely and flawlessly a symphony. If we have time, we'll play it. But the thing I want to warn us against in Minnesota is complacency. So we have a great state with a high quality of life, and because we do, sometimes we fall into this, well, if we just kind of keep doing stuff the way we've been doing it, it'll turn out okay. And that's kind of the Minnesota, I don't want to say mindset, but we want to be guard against, we'll put it this way, guard against complacency. And this change is going to be challenging. It's also going to be exciting. There's a lot of positives in it. But let me show you an interview with the then CEO of BlackBerry, who had owned the market in smartphones, but got complacent. And listen to this sense of complacency as a warning of what we need to avoid as a mindset.
The camera one. How are things going?
Things are really good, thanks. Yeah, excellent.
You imagine, all the things that have sort of changed in your life in the last 10 or 15 years?
A lot less has changed than you would think, really. A very normal life, kind of. It's just a whole lot more zeros on everything.
Yeah. Which is great if the decimal point's in the right place, where RIM has gone in the last, did you have a moment where you thought, okay, I think we've reached, we're here?
Not a lot, really. I don't sort of think that way. I don't sort of look up too much. I don't look down too much. It's the great fun is doing what you do every day. And I'm sort of a poster child for not sort of doing anything but what we do, every day. So, no, I don't really think about it a lot, no.
Do you get the sense that at this point, with what the BlackBerry itself, that device has done for your company, that it's a matter of time before other people, the iPhone didn't really do it. Do you ever look at it and go, what are we going to do if this isn't our primary business, growing RIM beyond something like a BlackBerry?
No. Probably die. That'll just be it. We're a very poorly diversified portfolio. It's
one thing.
It either goes to the moon or it crashes to Earth. So, but it's making it to the moon pretty good. So
sure, totally.
We'll stay with it.
They own the smartphone market. Probably one of the worst business decisions in the history of business. To not migrate, not innovate, not see the change, not embrace the change, not keep up with the change or get ahead of the change. So I'll just leave you with, first of all, thank you to my friend Tom for the invite to come today. And you've got an awesome leader here, somebody who is a tireless creative. Trying to say no to Tom. When I get emails from him, I don't even read them, I just type yes. Because it's just easier that way. He's wearing it around all the time. But what a great leader, and you're lucky to have him here. But at Google, they used to say the future is awesome. Well, the future will be awesome for those who can capture this. But we need to make sure the future is awesome for everybody. And there's a lot of people who are going to have a hard time making this transition if we don't help them. And we already have about 1/3 of our population underskilled or undereducated and not able to access the economy of today and tomorrow. That's really challenging for them. It's really challenging for their families. It's increasingly challenging for government and others. We need to improve upon that. And it's going to get worse, not better. The dislocation and disruption that we all hear about is going to get worse, not better, if we're not ready and don't take some steps to prepare. So I hope that you'll encourage your policymakers, former and current, to be aware of this and to lean into education, vocational training, higher education, retraining, in ways that demand that they not just keep doing what we're doing. It is not going to be sufficient. We need to purposefully align to this future in terms of skills, abilities, knowledge, and capabilities, and all that means from a vocational and educational standpoint. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your day. I appreciate it.